Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cult Film Club. Please give a warm welcome for your host, Johann Chipol.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, I am. Thank you. Right. That worked. Thank you. I love the fact that I have an introduction, but the introduction is always very loud, and I don't know how to respond to that. But yeah, okay. So, right then. First of all, thank you all so very, very much for coming to this special screening, to the Cult Film Club screening of Black Dynamite. This is sort of more of a treat for me more than anything else. It was recently my birthday, and I thought, you know what, I want to show one of my favorite movies, so why not show you that to everyone else. Now, how many of you have actually seen this movie before? A very small handful. Some of you might have not, and ones you haven't, oh boy. So the best way to describe this film in a best way is that it is a loving tribute, a parody, a satire, and absolute nonsense. And if you are genuinely into sort of exploitation movies, blaxploitation movies, and all that very niche cinema, and just generally just bad movies as a whole, Black Dynamite is the one for you. So Black Dynamite was a movie that came out in 2009. It is it's an action comedy, but it is more a parody of blaxploitation movies. Things along the lines of Superbad, Shaft, Dynamite, those kind of levels as well. Stars Michael J. White as Black Dynamite. Also stars Tommy Davidson, Sally Richardson, with plenty of cameos, including the likes of Arsenio Hall and Obaba Babatunde. Great stuff. If you've ever seen some of their work back, especially on that time, you'll see how they do that as well. It's directed by Scott Sanders, who's basically just a buddy of Jay White, and also written by Jay White. This is basically his passion project, the thing he's always wanted to try out. Also written by Sanders, and also written by Brian Mins, who also stars in the movie as the character Bullhorn. So he also wrote it, and he wrote himself probably the funniest character in the movie. He never stops rhyming.
Oh, you's a corn-fed fool with a lot of muscle mass, but it's time for Bullhorn to get up in that ass.
Now, Michael J. White came up with the idea for this movie when he was on the set in 2006 for sort of a straight-to-video sequel for Undisputed 2. No one's ever seen it. I haven't seen it. I don't think anyone else has. But he was just sitting there casually, putting on his thing, and he was just listening to James Brown's Superbad. And that suddenly sparked him the idea for the character of Black Dynamite. Because unlike, like most of you guys here, Michael J. White's actually sort of a film club aficionado himself. He used to run blaxploitation movie parties. So he would bring his friends over to watch blaxploitation movies, particularly trying to pick up the funny inconsistencies. So basically, he likes bad movies like we do. It's excellent. So with that, he went a little bit, he came up with the idea, and he said, right, talking to some of his friends, he wanted to come up with a way to make this movie possible. And so what he did was he started creating Black Dynamite by renting out costumes, taking photos of himself in the costume, and then giving it to Sanders, who is his buddy / director friend, and says, come on, look how cool I look in this suit. So I'm just imagining there's a whole bunch of Polaroids and weird photos of Michael J. White in his house in a blue suit doing this. That's literally all he was doing. With that, he said, okay, right, it's a very difficult thing to pitch, because if you know the history of blaxploitation is a hard sell. Especially if you're looking at how it went further and further along through the years. It started off with something like Sweet Badass's Song, but then goes into things like Shaft and Foxy Brown and all those other movies. But also, it then leads to things like Scream, Blackula Scream, which they're not bad movies, but also The Thing with Two Heads, which is basically a rich, bigoted white man gets a black head next to him. So it's a tough sell. So he said, okay, in order to do this, we need to make a trailer. So they make a trailer. They basically, for $500, they make a pitch trailer to be able to try and sell it to the studio. It was shot, it was basically shot on Super 8 film that they just happened to have, and was shot in literally a day. They spliced in loads of blaxploitation film stock footage and clips in between Michael J. White just looking cool in a blue suit and kicking things. And then when he finally gave that little clip trailer to the producer, he literally said, "Oh my God, okay, we need to raise money for this right now." So it was sold. With that, it went immediately to production and quite literally shot in about 20 days. Very, very short turnaround. And with a very low budget, like this wasn't an expensive movie. It was such a low budget that the director actually had to say they had to think like the blaxploitation directors, thinking like, well, we don't have money for this, so we gotta try and do this. And it's quite adventurous and very silly in some of these points because of that. Now, the most expensive part was actually this movie was all shot on vintage Super 16 color reversal Kodak film stock. I know, it sounds very fancy. But basically, it's the most expensive thing, but it's the kind of film stock that actually was the kind of film stock that was used for shooting blaxploitation movies. So, because basically you get a very high contrast, low saturation sort of look. So it's very common. So you really want to replicate the look of it by using film stock. Basically, also throughout the movie, you probably will see there's a lot of actual stock footage and clips from blaxploitation movies, all done from the Sony Pictures footage stock. Now, there's a couple of things here I kind of suspected. So obviously, there's some clips from Superfly. There's things from Dynamite's The Human Tornado. Obviously, if you haven't seen that, just watch it. It's stupid.
He made me do it!
Bitch, are you for real? That mother caught me in the bed with his wife. Now he want to try to take my life.
But also there are things like there's clips from Charlie's Angels, a TV show. There's also Policewoman, so that's from the TV show of the 70s as well. And also from Chuck Norris's Missing in Action. So if you actually see, there's some of the explosions are probably from the Chuck Norris movie, just randomly spliced in there. It's all stock footage, so they were allowed to do that. Now, when they were filming it, one thing you'll notice that's different is the direction. What I love about it is this movie's very meta. It's very knowing. There are purpose mistakes. If you haven't seen the movie, you'll notice a couple of things. That's purposely designed to sort of match the feel. But White and Sanders actually wanted to go to all the other actors and say, actually, what you're not doing, you are not playing a character, you're playing an actor playing a character. So you're basically playing a vintage 1970s actor trying to be in a blaxploitation movie.
Man, them honkies gonna be running for cover when us brothers get.
So basically, Michael J. White isn't playing Black Dynamite, he's playing a character called Ferrante Jones, who is an American footballer who got his neck hurt in football, had to retire, and he tried to get into acting. You'll notice, for example, a weird quirk where Black Dynamite doesn't move his neck a lot. It's because that's how level of deep the direction goes. Everyone had an alter ego and said, you're playing the alter ego playing this part.
Don't worry about tomorrow, mama, because tonight.
Dynamite's gonna make everything all right.
Euphoria, shut the up. I know that was you. I ain't even got to look. I should send your ass back to Crenshaw Pete with his hot ass coat hangers, bitch. Would you like that?
So basically, this led to some weird, quirky mistakes, really funny things that all led to be intentionally part of the movie. Now, I don't want to spoil the movie because it doesn't look like not a lot of you have seen it, but I'll just say one thing for some of the people who know. There's one particular actor who actually spent approximately 6 hours a day over the span of 3 weeks learning how to master the nunchucks. So when that happens, you can go, oh, okay. There's nunchucks in this. One of the things the Shaper weren't able to have playing around here, but one of the great things that Black Dynamite actually has a fantastic soundtrack, all done by Adrian Young, who played all the instruments and wrote the majority of the lyrics for it. And when you listen to it, it's really funny. It's literally talking. It's one of those kind of things where you listen to the lyrics is actually what's happening in the scene at that moment in time. Like very purposely, it's like Black Dynamite walks into the room. Black Dynamite knows Kung Fu. It does all that kind of stuff. But it's inspired by things like Isaac Hayes, Ennio Morricone, Wu-Tang Clan. You'll see the vibe as it comes through. Now, it all went pretty well on that point. They already knew this movie was not going to be gangbusters, but they already had ideas for other things in the future. But the thing is, it did lead to a limited release in cinemas. So it was released in 70 theaters for only 2 weeks, until 4 months later when it went on DVD. And that's where most of the people in the UK has probably seen this movie. You've never really been able to see that on the big screen, which is why this is such a humongously rare treat. It's the idea that we get to see this I think for me it's the first time ever on the big screen, and for most of you as well. The critical reception for this was pretty good. The reason why it's a cult film is because not a lot of people got to see it on the big screen, and it was only through DVDs passing over time that people got to see this. Some of the lovely criticisms, one of the lovely reviews was saying like it's a loving and meticulously send up to 1970s blaxploitation movies. Black Dynamite is funny enough for the frat house and clever enough for the film buffs. That's from Entertainment Weekly. Roger Ebert, the famous Roger Ebert, actually said Black Dynamite gets it mostly right, and when it gets it wrong on purpose and knows it's doing it wrong, so it's all okay. And then finally, the New York Times weren't as entirely as nice to this, but said like, it's too niche for most audiences, it's too crass for others, it's too dumb for some, but it's perfect for the very small few. If you ever heard of a backhanded compliment, I think that was it. But overall, that's the thing from it. It has spun quite a few things out of this. For a limited time on Adult Swim, there was a Black Dynamite anime for like 2 seasons. I've seen some of it. I haven't seen a lot of it, but the ones I have seen is very weird. I think Black Dynamite beats up Michael Jackson at one point. Like, it gets weird, so I recommend having a peek. There was also a web series that happened online, so a lot of some footage from behind the scenes stuff. There's also a web comic. And also there's technically was a spiritual sequel in the movie Outlaw Johnny Black, which again stars Michael J. White, and this time it's the Old West, trying to do that kind of thing again. It didn't get the same love and reception as this. I think it's because this one really felt like people knew what they were mocking and knew what they were doing with love. I think a good parody and a good satire of these kind of things is if you are watching a movie that knows all the bad stuff but knows it with love, and I think this is what this one, Black Dynamite, actually does. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to show this to you. But before we do that, we usually do the usual thing where I give out 2 free tickets to the next screening that's going to be happening in November. And so I've got the 2 tickets right here. And so, what I would like to do, basically, is I am going to basically sort of ask a question. If you know the answer to that question, I want you to raise your hand. In this case, I want you to shout out Black Dynamite. And the first, because obviously it's a bit dark, so you need to shout out pretty loudly, and I'm going to have to go to the direction of the voice. If you get it correct, you get 2 free tickets to the next screening. That will be on November the 2nd. Okay, so, are you guys ready? Let's try it out again. Are you guys ready? Yeah. Thank you. Jesus. Okay, so here's the question. So Michael J. White is also famous for starring in a lead in another movie. Maybe sort of superpowered, maybe an anti-hero of sorts in the 90s. That's also famously quite bad, particularly for a CGI cloak. Can someone name me that movie?
Black Dynamite.
Yes. It is Spawn. Thank you very much for that one. You get the 2 tickets. There you go. Now, if you ever actually, I'm glad the room is quiet, but basically means none of you have seen Spawn. Thank goodness, don't. There's a really large CGI cape that never ends. But yeah, so you guys get 2 tickets to the next screening. It's happening on November the 2nd, which is actually going to be part of the BFI action series that's been going on. It's going to be happening around November time as well. And so with that, I'll announce the movie, so can I get a small drum roll, please? The movie will be The Warriors. So we're going to be showing off The Warriors, classic cult film, great action, lots of great costume. I think you're going to love it too. There will also be some bottles so you can play and do the thing. I think we all know what that is. And so with that, I believe we also have the trailer we'll hopefully be showing you for that before we start the movie. So first of all, I'd like to then say thank you also very much for attending and enjoy Black Dynamite. Thank you.
These are the armies of the night.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The Furies. The Boppers. The Hi-Hats. The Lizzies. The Turnbull ACs. The Gramercy Riffs.
Riffs!
And these are the Warriors.
We know about the Warriors. They're a heavy outfit.
They're from Coney Island.
Warriors. You guys are the big dudes, huh?
Now they're in the Bronx,
We're going back.
27 miles behind enemy lines.
It's the only choice we got.
Between them and safety stand 20,000 cops and 100,000 sworn enemies.
I want them all. I want all the warriors.
They've got one way out. They've got one chance. They've got one night. The Warriors.
Fancy supporting Retro Rewind in the best possible way? Head over to buymeacoffee.com/Harvey Retro and choose from 2 options to unlock exclusive full movie and album commentary videos by yours truly and guests. Select membership and join Harvey's AV Club for £3 a month. Trivia, anecdotes, and even drinking games will be on the cards with these special commentary episodes. Or, if you'd rather, just say thank you without joining the club, select support and buy us a VHS tape, which is a single £5 contribution, and don't forget to tell us which classic you're adding to our library, as it might inspire me to review that movie in future. And that's it.